Hi guys, so I'm back. First of all, I feel that I need to make some apologies. I know it has been a really long time since my last video. I think most of you have been following my posts in the Facebook group where I've had the house fire last year and I've been moving around constantly, but I'm now finally settled in what I hope will be my forever home. Me and my son are. So it means that there won't be any more interruptions unless, of course, I get poorly again, because, of course, as soon as I moved in here, I ended up with pneumonia and had no voice again. So if I am still a bit croaky, then you know why. So I sat down to film this morning. Actual hours ago it was that I first sat down to do this, and then realised that I'd written my own pattern for the Mickey, and whilst I knew where it was, I actually couldn't understand my own notes. It made no sense. So I've played around with it for a few hours and realised how I've done things, and all my scribbles seem to make sense to me now. And I've even practiced it just to make sure I knew what I was doing was right. So I think now I can finally go ahead and actually get making this. I think the other reason that I delayed this and put this off so much is that I cannot stand making the ones where you have to sew them on. I don't know why, but it's just not my thing. You know, I want to crochet, I want everything to be as one. Then having to sew things on, I really don't enjoy doing. I have got something else that I can show you in this video when we come to sewing in the ends, because I've just bought a new product. I haven't tested it out myself yet, but it's a fabric glue that people recommend in crochet groups for gluing your ends to the back of your project, so once you've weaved them in, they don't come undone at all. So we can give that one a go as well and see if it works, because again, hopefully that will save us a lot of time and save things coming undone in the future. I think for now, save me yabbering on as I always do. Let's get straight into it. As always, we've got our 4mm hook, and we are starting with the peach yarn. Of course, I've already made my Mickey, but I do need to make a Minnie, which will go on to our other square. The only difference with the two of them is that she's going to have the bow at the top. I haven't had a go at making that one yet, but we can do that in the video, and hopefully that one will all be all right. So if you do need to make the Mickey first, which I'm hoping you will if you're watching the video, we'll go and make that one, and then obviously you'll have to make two, sew them both on, and then we'll make the bow as well in this video, so then you've got both squares complete. So we're starting with the peach yarn, and we want to make a magic ring. So I realise it's been a while since we've made one of these, so I will try to go as slow as possible just to show you how to do it again. We want the end of our yarn on, or held between our two fingers on the right hand side, because we want to drape them over the front of the two fingers on the left. So I'm just going to pull that one a bit longer so I've got a bit more yarn there. And then we want the yarn to go round the back, over the front again, and then over the front again, so we're making a cross like this. And here's where it gets confusing for the way I hold my hands. So the hook is going under the top right of the cross, and then you're pulling the top left under like this. You want to turn your hook towards you. So if you can see that motion again. You're going under, pulling that one towards you, and then turning your hook that way. And make sure it's on your hook. We're then going back under and picking up the top left of the cross again and pulling it through that loop. And here's where you can remove it from your hands. I have got a slow motion video of that on my YouTube shorts and on my TikTok page. So if you do need to see that one and keep repeating that, stitch, is it a stitch? I don't know, that magic ring over and over again, then I will link it in the description of this video if you need it. So we can pull on our working yarn just to tighten that one up, and then we are going to do 8 double crochets into the loop. So we're going under both stitches here and pulling that one through. We're yarning over and we've done 1. This is always rather fiddly, and I appreciate it's not easy for me to film, so it might be difficult for you to see as well. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Once you've done those 8 stitches, we're grabbing the non-working tail and then pulling that one tight, and it will close up the loop, just like so. From there, we are going to do 2 double crochets into each stitch around, so you end up with 16. So we're just going to count the 16 as we go around. Just make sure you do 2 in every stitch. So we're going in through this one, if I can. It's always the fiddliest after the magic ring. So there. So there's 1, and then we're going back in through that same stitch. And we've got 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So there's our first row complete. I know you will keep seeing a hole in the middle of this one, but you can just keep tightening it as you go along if you so wish, or just wait to the end and tighten it if you want to, because we can make sure that one's perfectly secure at the end when we're sewing that one on. So we've got our 16 stitches, and the next instruction for round 3 is to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch and then 1 double crochet into the stitch after that, and repeat it 8 times, so you'll have 24 stitches at the end. So I just do my usual counting to 24 going all the way around, so I know when I've got to the end. So what we're doing is we're going into that first stitch. I'm just trying to keep it in focus. 1, back into the same stitch, 2, 1 second, that's come undone, 2 in that first stitch, and then a singular one in the next. So we've done 3, and then 2 in the next one, 4 and 5, a singular one, 6, you double, 7, 8, single, 9, your double, 10, 11, and your single, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And there you are now up to the end of round 3. So we want 32 stitches for the next row, and it's moving on with a similar pattern to what we've just done. For this one, we're going to do 2 stitches in the next stitch, and then a single one and a single one. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will add up to 32 at the end. So into your next stitch, 1, 2, and your 2 singles, 3, 4, and now your double, 5, 6, 7, 8, your double, 9, 10, 11, 12, double, 13, 14, 15, 16, double, 17, 18, 19, 20. Just got a black hair there. There we go. Your double, 21, 22, 23, 24, your double, 25, 26, 27, 28, and your last one, 29, 30 as your double, and then 2 singles, 31 and 32, and that is the end of round 4. So those 4 rows are the same as the pattern in the book, and round 5 is where I change things. So we're carrying on with what we've just done, with the same way, in that we're doing a double, and then we did 1 stitch in one row, then 2 stitches in the next, and then in this one we're going to do 3, but we're only going to do it for 20 stitches because we only want it to cover half of the face, because we're trying to build up the sides for his cheeks. So just bear with me and I'll show you what I mean. So do your 2 stitches into the next, so 1 and 2, and then we're going to do 3 singles. So 3, 4 and 5, and then you double 6. I've got another hair, apologies, and 7, and then your 3 singles, 8, 9 and 10, another double, 11, 12, 3 singles, 13, 14 and 15, and this is your last one. So double, 16, 17, and your last 3 singles, 18, 19 and 20. Yes, it is curling up, but we will flatten this when we attach it to our square. So now that we've done that for row 5, we want to chain 1 like so, and then turn our work. So we're working back, going around this half again to essentially just widen this bottom part. So we're going to carry off again in the same mode. We're doing 2 doubles and then 4 singles, and this will give us 24 stitches. So you want to go into that stitch directly below your chain. So it's this one here, and we're doing 2 into this one. So 1, 2, and then 4 singles. So 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then our double, 7, 8, 4 singles, 9, 10, 11, 12, our next double, 13, 14, 4 singles, 15, 16, 17, 18, next double, 19, 20, and then 4 singles, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So as you can see now, we have got the wider bits on the side, and that will make up his cheeks. I'll just show you on the square what I mean. So they actually come out here, and we're now going to get the black and go all the way around the top to make it a more circular shape. So you can just fasten that one off. Remember to cut your end long enough so you've got enough thread there to weave in. So I'm just going to pull that one through to tie it off, and then I'm going to do my usual where I go in, pull it through, and then pull it through again, just so it's really, really secure. So that is Mickey's face so far, and there is quite a big hole in the middle. I'll just pull that one tighter, and it looks something like that. So now we need to move on to the black. So now we're moving on to the black, I appreciate it's a really difficult colour for me to film. It's a difficult colour to work with anyway, so you might struggle to see, but I will try to make it as clear as possible. So we've got the two fat cheeks like this, and you can see where you've got those stitches for the cheeks there and what stitch they're coming out of, which is that hole there. We want to attach the black into that space, which is this one just here. Hopefully I've made that clear enough. So I'm going to put my hook in through, and then I'm going to pull the black in through that stitch, and then make sure you use your working yarn to loop over and just create that first chain so it's secure, and then pull on both ends just to make sure that's tight enough. That's so difficult to do on camera because I can't see what I'm doing because there's a camera in front of me. So hopefully you managed to see that okay. So we're going to do the half treble stitch back into that same stitch that we've just gone in through. So we're going to yarn over, go in through that same stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops, and we're going to do one more into the same stitch. So yarn over, go in through and pull up a loop, yarn over again and pull through again, so you've got 2 half trebles into that same stitch. We then want to do a half treble into the next stitch. My camera is finding this really difficult to focus. It doesn't like the black either, so I'm really sorry. So we're yarning over and we're going into the next stitch along, pulling up a loop, yarning over, and then we've got our next stitch done. Into our next stitch we want to do 2 double crochets. So in our next one we've done 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets. We are then going to do 1 2 1 2 1. So just follow that with me. We're doing 1 and then 2 into the next one, 2, 1, 2 and 1. Now this stitch is what might be classed as, I think, probably the most difficult for this round, because we need to create the point on the front of Mickey's face. So we're not going to work into this stitch here like we normally would. We want to work in to the row below. I'm trying to focus this. So we want to pull up essentially on that thread here, the one going from left to right, the horizontal row. So I'm going to go in through here. We want to work in to that one, but we're going to do half trebles, so of course I need to loop over first. So we're going to loop over and then go in through that hole of the row below. And this is really tricky. Once you get it done once, it's fine. There we go, and I've got that one on my hook now. And then I'm going to yarn over, and don't pull too tight on these because you want the height on them, and then just pull through all 3 loops. And we want to do 3 of those stitches into that same stitch. So I'm going to yarn over again, back in through, and there's 2, and just do 1 more, and there's 3. And if I pull that one back, you can see we've created that V at the front of his face. We're now going back to doing the double crochet stitch. If I turn this behind, you can see that we can't go directly into the next stitch here because we've almost covered that up because this is quite wide. So the last stitch we went into was this one here. We're then going to skip that next one here and we're going to go into this one here, but you've got your yarn out in front. So make sure before you put it in to pull your yarn around the back like this, and you can then go into that next stitch. And we're just doing a single double crochet into that one. And we're going to do the 1 2 1 2 1 again. So there's our first one, and then we're doing 2 into this one. 1 2, and then a single, 1, and then a 2, 1 2, and then a 1. Into the next one we want to do 2 double crochets again, so 1 and 2, and then we're going to do 3 half treble crochets into the next 3 stitches. So yarn over, and we're going into this one, pull through all 3, yarn over into the next one, pull through all 3, yarn over, and then for the last one we're going essentially into the same stitch as what we would have done on the other side, and we're going into that hole there right where your first stitch of the other row would have started. So right into, can you see that one there? I hope you can. Just that stitch there, into here, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, and although it is rather wobbly, there's your Mickey face complete. So now we need to fasten that one off. We need to then get the black ready because we are going to make 2 of the ears. So for the ears, we're not making a magic ring. We're going to start off with a slip stitch, and we're going to chain 3. 1 2 and 3. I know there is a pattern for the ears in the book, but we're doing it different because they weren't the right size to match up with the Mickey that we've made. So after you've chained 3, you want to go into that first stitch and do a slip stitch. So once we've done our slip stitch, we need to chain 3. So 1 2 and 3. And we're now doing 12 half trebles into the centre. So I know that I've shown you before to pull your stitches apart. This one's really difficult because it's black and you will find that centre. So I need to go in through that one. And then we're yarning over. Sorry, this is so fiddly with the black. There we go. I've got my first stitch done. So we're doing 12 of those into the centre of the ring. There's my first one done. And 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. And 12. Yes, we've got a hole in the centre. You can pull that one tighter if you want to close that one up more. For the next round, we are going to do, excuse me, 2 double crochets in the first stitch and then a single in the next, and we do that 4 times. So find your first stitch, which is here. So I'm going to do 1 into that one and 2 into the same stitch, and then a single. That makes 3, and then 4, 5, and my single. I can't see what I'm doing. 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And there's that one finished. I've somehow got some white thread on the front of that one. So we want to slip stitch to our first stitch and then fasten that one off. So there we go, there's that one, and then you need to make another one of those. So now that you've done the 2 ears, you now should have 3 singular pieces ready to sew on. Now of course I've already done my Mickey onto this square, so I will sew my next one, which is going to be my Minnie, onto the next square, but don't go getting too confused with colours because Mickey is going onto this one, and then Minnie with the bow will be going onto this one. So to save any confusion, I'm going to sew my Mickey onto this one now to show you how to do it, and then I'll make the bow afterwards and put onto this square after I've sewn it on, so no one gets too muddled up. So as I've shown you in the other videos, especially for the Winnie the Pooh, I think it was, we're going to be doing something in with the sewing called manipulation. I don't know if that's an official term, it's what I call it. So when we're sewing on, we need to almost be stretching parts out before sewing to make sure that it's the right shape. I know a lot of people have voted for me to make the Mickey looking a bit different, so you haven't essentially followed my videos before. But if you want to see more about that, we have done that on the Winnie the Pooh square, because I did make that one to look like a Tsum Tsum character and look slightly different to how it's done in the magazine as well. So from here, what you need to do is to go ahead and pin the bits that you've just made onto your square. Remember, you can tuck your tails underneath so they're hidden. Remember though, you will need to leave a tail long enough to sew around. If you haven't, just cut off another piece of wool and use that to sew. We're going to be using the peach to sew around the bottom half of the face and the black for the rest of it, otherwise you're going to end up with black lines going around through here, which we don't want. And I will show you as well, obviously at the moment with our Mickey that we've made, these are 2 separate pieces at the moment, so there is obviously movement between the 2, but then when I've attached it to the face, I have sewn them so that they're joined together and there's no movement between them now. So for anyone that hasn't done this before with me, your best thing to do is to find your centre of your Mickey, find the centre of your square, and to pin that one on, and then find the centre of your ear, and you can see that it lines up with this stitch here, and also the tops of my ears are just black coming below this row of stitches here. It makes much more sense if you do it that way, and that way it ends up perfectly symmetrical. So the bottom of Mickey's face is in line with where these two holes are. You can see that, and then there's another row of stitches below. And the top, again, you've got these two holes here and that row of stitches, and then just make sure he's central with the central stitch here. So hopefully that will make sense. If you go ahead and pin on, and I'll catch up with you once you've done that. So I'm all pinned on. As you can see, it's not the best, but he's quite central. Once it lays flat, you can see that he's on quite central. And to begin with, I've just threaded my needle with some black, and I want to go in through this point just here where we started our first stitch on that black row. So I'm just holding my thread at the back, and then we want to do small stitches just to make sure, like I said, that that bit is secure, because obviously it's loose from this bit. So I'm going back in through. Is anyone else finding the black really hairy? I just seem to constantly be picking off bits of fluff. Okay, so that should all be secure now. And now we want to make sure that these two are the same height. So I'm just making sure those match up. And I'm going to go in through and stitch this one down. And then we can go all the way along the top of the face. I like to do small stitches if I can, because then it just means it's more secure, and I know it takes longer. And just make sure you keep checking at the back so that everything isn't getting too knotted up. So once we reach this point, it's where the ear will join on, and I will use the long threads on the ears to sew them separately. So just for now, I want to go up through that next stitch just to make sure these two are joined together. I'll go through the top of the ear. And then in through this one. And then this will be the last one going in through the ear. Oh, I think I've become tangled. Okay, so that ear is now fixed onto the face. And we're now going round to the top of the face, and here's where the manipulation will come in rather shortly. So I'm going back over to the top of the face, and then going down through this one. So at the moment there's a slight dip sort of here. It's almost like a V shape. So we don't want that there. We want Mickey's face to be round. So what we're going to do is pull up and manipulate that so it ends up round. So pull it up, hold it in place, and then sew it. So I've pulled that one up, just going in from the back. So now you can see we don't any longer have that dip on the top. It's now a round shape because we've manipulated it and sewed it into place. So I'm just going to continue going all the way along. And then we're about to get back to the other ear. So I can now do the same as what I did on the other side and go through that one to hold it in place like we did. Oh, I hate these needles, they're so squeaky. I keep getting stuck on my pins. Sorry, this is the least professional video that I've ever made, so to all the new people that have come along to see this, I am really sorry. It's going to take me a while to get back in the swing of it, I think. So that's the last stitch I'll do, securing the ear. So then I'm back down onto his face. We can go in through these. And we just want to make sure it looks the same as the other side, which is obviously quite wide that side. But given how the stitches are on this side, it can look a bit different because that's where we started our stitches. I'm just trying to make sure that one matches up as best as possible. And then I'm going to pull that one and sew that one in so it hopefully looks as wide as the other side. And if you need to add a few more stitches on just to create that width, I didn't have to do this with the other one I did. We just haven't got as much here to fill it out, but that's fine. We can do it this way. And then you'll end up with something that looks like that. So now you need to sew your ears on. I'm sure you can see how to do that. I mean, we've got some extra thread here. Just make sure you go all of the way around. And then with the peach, doing exactly the same as what we've just done, but doing it in the opposite direction. So you would start off in the corner, sew along and around and back down again. And if you need to manipulate that face to make it lie flat, make sure you've got that circular shape, you can do that. And I'll meet you back once you finish sewing that one. So I've gone ahead and sewn that one all the way around, and it is now all perfectly attached on all sides. One thing I have done is pulled the cheeks up over the black slightly, just overlapped it just so it's slightly more prominent, but you don't have to do that. The most difficult part, I guess, with the sewing is the eyes and nose, because adding on those are what makes Mickey and Minnie them. Their facial features is what makes them, essentially. So what I did here with Mickey here was I had a photo. I went onto Google Images and I googled Mickey Mouse Tsum Tsum and just had that image up while I was sewing, just to try to match it as perfectly as possible. This isn't going to be something that I can show you how to do from the video. I mean, you can follow the Winnie the Pooh instructions with how I did the facial features, and I will try to do the best I can here, but how you do this part all varies depending on how big your stitches are as to where you need. Sorry, I'm trying to get my words out. When you make your stitches here, it will all depend on how wide apart and how big your stitches are, because it all depends on your tension. So everyone's face is going to end up looking different no matter what you do. and all I can try to do is to give you a rough guide. So if we look at Mickey over to the left there, we can see that we've got the central part of stitches and then the gaps going all the way around, and then the middle of the nose is somewhere about here, and it's about 1 row of stitches tall, I'd say. So we're looking at about kind of that width for the nose. So we want to go up. I know I'm going down through right now, but we need to go down through here to begin with. And just pull that one through, and remember to hold it at the back so you're not pulling it all the way through. So that I've got that one up through. So it explained it on the Winnie the Pooh how you do this. So you just need to make the outline essentially first. So I'm going to go down through this one. And then I'm going to go back up through the middle. And then down through the other side. And I can already see that that's gone too far and they're not matching, so I'm taking that one out. And that's the good thing with this, is nothing's permanent, so we can keep going back and forward until we get the right shape. So if I go in through that one instead, that's about the width that I want it, and now it's almost like a point that we're going to. So if I find the middle of the line that I've just made but go 1 stitch below and then back through that point, and then back in through that one and down through there. And it's now just a case of filling that in. Mickey in the background, I'm sure you can see that he's not got any points to his nose. I do try to like round it off as I go. So I'm just filling in all the colour on this one. And we're nearly there. It's quite easy to do, like, or not quite easy, but it's quite quick to do. It's just not easy, I think that's what I was trying to say. Especially with squeaky needles. It's trying to get the wool through where you need it to go through as well when it's so thick. See, there's just that tiny gap in the middle there that I'm trying to cover up and it's not working. I'm going to go in through the bottom and go over it and see if that makes a difference. There we go. I've got it now. So it's slightly different to Mickey's nose. It is more pointed. But it's fine, it'll do. It doesn't need to be exact. And then we need to move on and do the eyes in the same way. Just if you want to look at a picture of a Tsum Tsum, or look at the picture in the background here and try and match up where the stitches go. And I'll meet you back when you're done, and then we can make the bow. So we're moving on to Minnie's bow now, and we need the colour bright red. This one's quite simple. I've noticed that there are no written instructions in the magazines for this one. It's all done on the picture, but it's fairly short and fairly quick, so it shouldn't take long to do. So we're starting off with a slip knot, putting that one onto our hook, and then we need to make 5 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The next instruction is to then make 3 double trebles into the 4th chain from the hook. So we'd normally go into the last one, which is the 5th chain, but we want to go into the 4th chain this time. So we're yarning over twice and then going into the 4th chain and pulling up a loop, and then pulling through 2, pulling through 2 and pulling through 2 again, and we're going to repeat that, going back into the same stitch, going through 2 and 2 and 2, and then one more in through that same stitch again, 2, 2 and 2. From here we're going to chain 3 again, 1, 2 and 3, and then we're going to slip stitch into the same chain. Now what that means is, even though we've made 3 chains, it's nothing to do with that, it's rather confusing. We need to slip stitch back into that stain stitch that we were just using. So we're going in through that one and just making a slip stitch like that. We're then going to slip stitch into what they call the first chain, which I presume is our first chain from our first row. So this one just here, the one that we missed out before. So we're going in through that one and doing a slip stitch. We're then chaining 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we're then going to do 3 double trebles into that same stitch. So yarn over twice, back into that stitch and pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, the same again, 2, 2, 2 and the same again, back in through that same stitch, 2, 2 and 2. From here we're going to chain 3 again, so 1, 2 and 3, and then the final part of the bow is just a slip stitch into that same chain again. So there's your bow done. We now need to sew this one onto our square. Make sure to leave a long enough tail so we've got enough yarn to sew around the sides. Then we also need enough, because we're going to sew around the middle like that to create the centre of the bow. So I can't estimate how long you need. Just make sure you've got a long enough tail to sew around it all. And then pin it onto your square, sew all the way around the edges, and then I'll meet you back when we're at the middle and I'll show you what we need to do from there. I just thought I'd show you this one before I started sewing, because I didn't want to jump too far in case you didn't know what you were doing. So I've pinned that one into place, and it should be just at the top of her head. You've got that thread there coming right out the bottom, so I'm just going to sew all the way around to the middle here and then all the way around, and it will finish so that we're back here, and then I'll show you the next step. So now that I've gone all the way around, it looks like this, and currently my thread is out the back, and I think, yeah, it's around this point at the back at the moment. So I'm just going to go up at the base of the bow, and then we're going to pull this one down like this and go in there and pull that one tight, because we want to pull the top of the bow. So we've got the dip in the middle, and we're just going to go back into the same place. And then just keep going over a few times, just so we can get the centre of the bow. You can keep doing it as many times as you like. And just keep doing that until you're happy with the shape of it, until you like the centre of your bow. And then we need to move on to using the white to do some spots on the bow with some French knots again. So I feel I just need to make a correction. I did just say in the video that I couldn't find the written instructions for the bow and there was only the picture. I was wrong. I did find them. I wasn't looking hard enough, so I'm really sorry. On this instance, the book wasn't wrong. Okay, so now we're doing the French knots like we did on the other bow. So we're taking our needle with our white yarn and pulling all the way through until we've got enough of a tail left at the back that we can thread in. Make sure you're holding on to that one with your fingers behind. You want to lay your needle at an angle. Wrap that one twice around your needle, and then whilst you're holding on to the yarn at the back, make sure you're holding on to that one at the front as well. And we want to then turn our needle and go back in through the same hole or close to where we came up before, and then just pull your needle through, not too quickly because you don't want it to get too knotted up. And then we should have a spot on our bow. And then you can pick anywhere to go next. Wrap around twice. 1, 2, and then back in through that same spot. And then keep doing as many as you want to on the bow. And there we have it, the final square. You have no idea how pleased I am to have that done. I think, as well as all the move and me being poorly, I think I probably would have rushed back to do this had it been a square that I really wanted to do, but I've just put it off because I was dreading it, because I really don't like the applique ones. But the difference with these ones, I guess, is they look so cool and so cute once they're finished. So I've just got one more thing to show you, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. And it's this product, which is called OK to Wash It, and it's by Aline's Original. And it's a permanent fabric adhesive, and what you do is you just put the glue on to anything you want it to go on, and you leave it for about 5 minutes to set. And after that, you just have to leave it for 24 hours to dry fully. And from there, you can't wash the item for 7 to 10 days. But after that, you can wash it as much as you like. And there is instructions on the back for how to wash the item. But I don't know if you remember me saying on previous ones, I got fed up of weaving my ends in. So the backs of my squares do look like this, which they're a complete mess, because I've decided that I'm going to back my blanket instead, because I just think it'll be much easier in the long run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the glue on all the knots where I've tied them off, on all these, you can see these loose ends here. I'm just going to glue them down, and then I will report back in the next video as to how well it's worked. So I will let you know if I recommend the product or not. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. Please leave a like, leave a comment, give me a subscribe if you want a notification for the next video. And I will see you very, very soon in the next one, because I think I'm just going to jump straight in and film that one now. So I'll see you soon.